Welcome back to Things You Don't Know, where the world's oldest materials still have stories left to tell. I am Dr. William Weaver, joined by my co hosts who never crack under pressure, Dr. Sean Deneen and Chandler Foster.
And today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, is one of mud, memory, and metamorphosis.
And today, folks, we're here to shape the story of a very muddy topic. Today, we're talking about clay, that humble earth beneath our feet that became everything from shelter to sculpture, from pottery to pixels, a substance that helped humans build civilization and continues to mold our world today.
It starts with the earth itself, volcanic ash, feldspar, and mineral dust worn down over millions of years by wind and rain. The result? A fine grained material with an ancient soul.
The earliest clay artifacts date back over 30,000 years. Tiny figurines like the Venus of Dolny Vestunolci, sculpted by Paleolithic hands, fired in open hearths. Before writing and before metal, there was clay.
By 7000 BC, ancient potters in Mesopotamia were shaping bowls and jars to store grain and oil. Those early vessels didn't just hold food, they held trust. In a world without currency, storage was survival.
And from that same mud, ladies and gentlemen, came tablets. Amazingly, the first books, cuneiform script, etched with a reed stylus in damp clay, baked under the desert sun. I probably still owe a library a few of those. Civilization itself was written in mud.
So when you look at an old clay tablet in a museum, you're not just looking at an artifact. You're reading the diary of Mother Earth.
One of the things that I'm always reminded of is the Dead Sea Scrolls that were preserved in clay pots for thousands of years in a cave. There's something profoundly human about clay. It yields to touch, but remembers every fingerprint. It forgives mistakes under the kiln, then holds them forever.
Archaeologists call it the most honest material. Stone hides the chisel, metal hides the mold, but clay shows every intention.
That's why artists love it. From ancient amphorae to Michelangelo's models, clay bridges imagination and gravity. It's the rehearsal space of creation.
The Chinese perfected porcelain in the Tang Dynasty, firing kaolin clay at temperatures over 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. Europeans spent centuries chasing that secret, calling it white gold.
Meanwhile, in Africa, the Americas, and Oceania, pottery became cultural language. Each pattern was a signature of place and people, from Hopi coil pots to Nigerian terracottas. Clay carried stories throughout time.
Every culture, every hand brings a different rhythm, all stemming from the same earth.
And here's where the science sings. Clay's magic lies in its crystal structure, sheets of aluminum and silicon stacked like pages in a book, trapping water molecules between them. That's what gives it its stretch, its slipperiness, its memory.
When heat drives that water out, the sheets collapse and fuse. At around 1,000 degrees Celsius, the clay becomes ceramic, dense, rigid, and nearly immortal.
So the potter's wheel isn't just art, it's physics. Every revolution, every single push rearranges matter on a molecular scale. You're literally transforming the earth with your fingertips.
That transformation mirrors us. Wet clay is potential, unformed, fluid. Fired clay is purpose, tested, defined.
In that way, a kiln is like time. It hardens what we've shaped.
And sometimes cracks what we thought was perfect.
Today, clay is still everywhere, not just in pottery studios. It's in the bricks that hold up skyscrapers, the porcelain of bathroom sinks, the insulation of space shuttles, even the screens of smartphones.
That's right. The glass in your phone started as silica clay. Modern ceramics are the backbone of electronics, satellites, and medical implants. From ancient pots to microchips, it's the same family, different fire.
And in wellness circles, clay has found a new stage. Bentonite clay masks, detox wraps, mineral baths, modern rituals built on prehistoric earth. People still trust clay to cleanse, to heal, and to renew.
We even use clay to heal the planet itself. Environmental engineers deploy it to absorb toxins, line landfills, and prevent groundwater contamination. You know, clay is made from tiny plate like mineral particles, mostly aluminosilicates, such as monomonite, kaolinite, or illite. They have huge surface areas and negative electrical charges.
That combination is the key. It lets clay attract and hold on to positively charged ions, especially metals, organic molecules, and pollutants. When heavy metals like lead or mercury come into contact with clay, those ions cling to its surface through a process called adsorption.
So, clay is basically the world's natural detox sponge, the planet's Brita filter.
Exactly. Sometimes the clay even swaps out its own sodium or calcium ions for pollutant ions, a process called cation exchange.
And because clay's permeability is so low, water passes through it painfully slowly. That's why compacted clay liners are used in landfills and in waste sites. They trap leachate and keep toxins from escaping into and poisoning groundwater.
So, it's like Earth's built in firewall slow, sticky, and strong.
Right. The combination of physical barrier and chemical filter makes clay one of our most powerful environmental guardians.
And while we're at it, quick science detour. People always mix up absorption and absorption. So, Doc, why don't you tell us what's the difference?
Absorption is like a sponge. The substance soaks in completely. It's a full commitment. Adsorption is clingy. Everything sticks to the surface only.
You might say one's an all in relationship, the other's just a surface fling.
Got it. Absorption is marriage, and absorption is dating.
Exactly. And in environmental chemistry, sometimes that fling saves lives. Clay has always meant more than matter. In myth and sculpture, humans are shaped from it. Adam from dust, Prometheus molding mortals from mud. It's the metaphor of creation itself.
To put on my spiritual hat here for a minute, to be made of clay is to be temporary and eternal, both fragile and divine. It's a reminder that everything beautiful comes from something ordinary.
And I think maybe that's why working with clay feels spiritual. You're not just crafting an object, you're actually collaborating with the planet. Each bowl, each brick, each sculpture carries a whisper of origin.
Even language remembers. Clay feet for weakness, earthen vessel for humility, potter's field for final rest. Clay shapes not just our world, but our words.
It's quite true. And in a time obsessed with doing things fast and with the digital, clay pulls us back to the tactile, to the slow, deliberate act of making something real.
When your hands are in clay, you can't rush. The material teaches patience, precision, and the art of letting go.
From the first fingerprints in wet soil to the porcelain satellites orbiting Earth, clay charts the story of human persistence. It's proof that what comes from the ground can reach the stars.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, in museums, we marvel at ancient pots not because they're perfect, but because, as we have, they've endured. Clay survives floods, wars, empires. It remembers what we forget.
Maybe that's the true lesson of clay transformation through pressure, endurance through fire. It's what we are and what we're becoming.
So, the next time you hold a coffee mug or walk across a tile floor, pause. You're touching the same earth your ancestors shaped, the same atoms that once lay beneath a volcano's ash.
Every object tells a story in silence. Every crack, every glaze, every imperfection, a history of hands.
And somewhere beneath your feet, the next masterpiece is waiting, soft, patient, and ancient. Just add a little bit of water. That's all.
It's also good to think of it as the depository for story keepers. In the American Southwest, for example, Pueblo artists turned memory into sculpture. Helen Cordero's first storyteller doll, an elder surrounded by listening children, was based on her grandfather, the village oral historian. Through clay, his voice never faded.
And those members' bowls, black on white, alive with fishers, hunters, tricksters, each one killed with a hole and placed over the face of the deceased. It's like sending someone to the afterlife wrapped in stories.
Among the Hopi Tewa, potters like Nampeo revived ancient Skatea designs, migration lines, butterflies, clouds, and rain. Every pot a prayer, every motif a map of identity and balance.
The Acoma and Santa Clara artists continued that lineage. Fine line rain designs, lightning, kiva steps. Elders read them the way others read scripture, genealogy and gratitude written in clay.
The Mississippian cultures of Cahokia and Spiro molded effigy bottles into heroes, dancers, and underworld spirits. Theology in three dimensions and the carved spirals and scrolls that spoke of lineage and sacred geography.
Further south in Mesoamerica, the Maya painted entire histories on clay, vases inscribed with hieroglyphic texts, kings, gods, maize, and rain, clay as manuscript.
And in Peru, the mochi shaped stirrup spout vessels showing battles, ceremonies, even healing rituals. It was episodic storytelling long before television.
You could say Clay was humanity's first streaming service, just a slower upload speed.
Yeah, exactly. And yet every culture used it for the same reason: permanence, to make sure the story outlived the storytellers. For things you don't know, I am Dr. William Weaver.
And I'm Dr. Sean Deneen, reminding you to give us a like, leave a comment, and look forward to more wonderful podcast episodes.
And I'm Chandler Foster, reminding you that sometimes to shape the future, you just have to get your hands dirty.